In 1966, Ford launched a deafening, brutal, multi-million-dollar campaign to crush Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They built a hostile, ground-hugging weapon designed specifically for endurance racing. Curious, but then you have this, a car engineered for 200-mile-per-hour straights, casually rolling past a British crosswalk wearing a standard-issue UK license plate. This disconnect exists because of a racing rule called Group 4 homologation. To qualify for this specific sports car category, the International Racing Governing Body required manufacturers to build at least 50 production copies of their race car for the general public. This gave Ford a massive corporate headache. The market for a deafening, aggressively stiff race car completely devoid of creature comforts was practically zero. They had to somehow convince wealthy commuters to buy a Le Mans prototype just to hit their quota. To secure their chance at endurance racing glory, one of the world's largest mass-market automakers was forced by bureaucratic mandate to temporarily run a boutique, street-legal supercar operation. Ultimately, they only managed to complete 31 Mark I GT40s in road trim, making them incredibly rare pieces of automotive history. Out of that tiny production run, one specific chassis known as P1069 survived the most chaotic life cycle of the entire bunch. This chart tracks the financial journey of P1069 over the decades. What started as a simple promotional asset for Ford dealerships eventually crossed an auction block recently for a staggering $4.4 million. That price tag reflects its survival through a bitter corporate war and a bizarre international kidnapping plot. Turning the GT40 into a street car required Ford Advanced Vehicles to make significant mechanical compromises. They swapped in softer suspension, fitted heavier brakes, and clamped restrictive mufflers onto the exhaust. Inside, buyers navigated hostile design choices. Massive fuel tanks were crammed into the door sills, creating a combustible cocoon. Looking at the accompanying text block, the 240-mile-per-hour speedometer was angled towards the passenger, likely inducing instant heart failure. The street trim was entirely an illusion for the regulators. Underneath the thin layer of leather and the exhaust mufflers, it remained a hostile, uncompromising piece of track hardware. Chassis P1069 entered this world in early 1967 as a high-profile press car, making its debut at the Geneva Auto Salon painted in a brilliant opalescent silver blue. After the show, Ford loaned the car out for promotional duties to Georges Filippinetti, a prominent Swiss dealer and powerful racing team owner. But a bitter financial dispute quickly erupted over racing accounts between Filippinetti and John Wyer, the head of Ford's UK racing operations. When Wyer demanded the GT40 back, Filippinetti retaliated by simply refusing to return it. He kept the ultra-rare vehicle hidden away in Switzerland for months, holding it as leverage to settle his accounts. A racing machine engineered by one of the largest corporations on Earth to annihilate Ferrari at Le Mans was effectively grounded by a petty bureaucratic feud. Automotive historians still refer to P1069 as the hostage car. Ford eventually recovered the hostage, repainted it blue mink, and threw it into the UK press fleet, where Formula One champion Graham Hill famously took it for a test drive. Meanwhile, the international racing policy was shifting. In 1968, the FIA instituted a rule change that banned the massive 7-liter engines powering Ford's dominant prototype cars. Because Ford had grudgingly built those 31 smaller displacement street cars to satisfy the Group 4 loophole, their aging homologated chassis was legally cleared to keep competing. That technicality allowed the older Mark I GT40 to return to Le Mans and score back-to-back victories in 1968 and 1969, miraculously beating out a crowded grid of entirely new prototypes. These street cars effectively provided the reserve chassis pool Ford needed to win. The homologation requirement had accidentally built the fallback plan that kept their racing dynasty alive. Today, those 31 street-legal GT40s present a paradox for collectors. Most of them have zero-period racing history. A $4.4 million valuation reflects exactly what these vehicles represent. They are the tangible survivors of the homologation era. Every detail on P1069 exists because Ford was legally required to make a racing machine habitable for the street. Chassis P1069 is the physical manifestation of a bygone era in motorsport, a time when the only difference between a Le Mans champion and a daily commuter was a muffler, a license plate,
and a loophole.